Markel Shea.
And I'm Jeff Sununian.
Welcoming you back to another episode of iBerkshiresTV. We'd like to say a quick thank you to our sponsor of this week's show, Berkshire Jobs, which has become the county's leading website for both employers and job seekers alike.
Later on, we'll be hearing from Christa Collier from Northern Berkshire United Way to talk a bit about the work they do in our area.
And later, we'll hear from Keith Girouard from Massachusetts Small Business Development Center about the ways small businesses can get help in the county.
But first, here are your latest headlines as being reported by your local news source, iBerkshires.com.
An 18-wheeler was flipped on its side carrying a full load of food products at the junctions of routes 2 and 7 at the bottom of the Taconic Trail in Williamstown. The accident occurred at about 5 a.m. on July 22nd in front of the A-Frame Bakery when the tractor-trailer struck one of the large purple concrete barriers installed to protect its property from runaway vehicles coming down the Taconic Trail. The most visible damage to the bakery was its road sign, which apparently was knocked down in the accident.
The planned restoration of the Pontusic Lake Beach in Pittsfield was stymied when it was found the beach had turned into protected wetlands. The area now cannot be disturbed, which means the project will have to be rethought. The beach had been a popular recreation destination in the past, but water runoff issues rendered it mostly unusable. There was hope to fix the drainage issue and restore the beach, but those plans will now have to be altered.
The owner of the former North Adams Country Club in Clarksburg confirmed his plans to renovate the clubhouse and recreate a 9-hole course, as well as set up a cluster of tiny homes to cater to second homeowners and vacationers. The course on River Road had been in limbo for the last 8 years as plans to build an 18-hole golf course fell to the wayside, materials were taken from the land, and a solar array installed.
Nearly 24 people attended an emergency meeting organized by Lauren and Robert Norcross at the Clarksburg Senior Center to find ways to keep the 15-year-old building open and the Council on Aging functioning. The council voted at the beginning of July to disband and gave the town 30 days' notice that the building would close. Those in attendance of the meeting concluded that their plan of action will be to put in place a new Council on Aging with a minimum of 7 sitting members.
The sale of the Berkshire Mall was finalized to the company out of Cincinnati, Durga Property Holdings. The mall was closed earlier in the year after falling behind on property taxes and utilities that new owner Durga apparently paid off. The sale price was recorded at $1 million, some $2.5 million less than the previous owner had purchased it for.
North Adams residents will decide between 2 candidates for mayor, incumbent Thomas Bernard and McCann School Committee member Rachel Branch, as well as 15 candidates for 9 at-large seats on the City Council. City Clerk Deborah Pedersini declared no need for a preliminary race because mayoral candidate Richard David Green never returned papers, nor did 4 other potential council candidates. All candidate nomination signatures have been verified.
Congressman Richard Neal is facing a challenger in Holyoke, Mayor Alex Morse. Morse kicked off his campaign on July 22nd, while Neal has spent a long time in the House of Representatives and currently chairs the Powerful Ways and Means Committee. Morse, however, feels Neal has not done a good job representing Western Mass and says he is up for the tough challenge of taking on the incumbent.
We'd like to thank Berkshire Jobs for their support of the show. Next, Markel chats with Northern Berkshire United Way Executive Director Christa Collier.
Does your business have vacancies to fill? Do you need new employees to reach your sales goals? BerkshireJobs.com, Berkshire County's local job site, is the leading choice for finding you the best and the brightest talent. A proven solution for hundreds of Berkshire businesses. BerkshireJobs.com is fast, affordable, effective, guaranteed. Go online today, post a job, and you could be interviewing tomorrow. Find the people you need or your money back, guaranteed. BerkshireJobs.com. Log on today.
Hi everyone, I'm joined here by Christa Collier with the Northern Berkshire United Way Foundation here. She's here to talk to us a little bit today about some of the things that you do in our community. I know a lot of people have heard of the United Way before, however, not very many people are familiar with what it is exactly you do. So if you'd like to expand a little bit and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, sure. Thanks for having me here today. This is great. Yes, so Northern Berkshire United Way has been around in our community for about 83 years.
Wow.
And once it was the prevalent fundraising entity. It was the only fundraiser in the community, but as you know, times have changed, and everybody does fundraising. What we do is we support 20 member agencies, many agencies that you will recognize when you hear their names. Youth Center Inc., Child Care of the Berkshires, Berkshire Community Action Council, Be Fair, and several others. But besides that, we do have several other initiatives that we take part of in the community, besides being really active in the community as well and supporting our agencies and other community partners as well.
Right. So like some of those organizations that you talked about, there's a lot within our area. So, but it seems that the common thread between all of them is Berkshire United Way, which is great. Some of the initiatives that you wanted to talk about was one of them specifically, the homeless initiative that you have started in the past. Right. How long has it been? 2 years?
It's been about 2.5 years, yes. That's the Northern Berkshire Housing and Homelessness Collaborative. And that was a collaborative that happened somewhat organically. The Northern Berkshire Community Coalition holds monthly forums, and what came about at one forum that was about housing was that a lot of different organizations really focus on homelessness or housing issues. We wanted to have a further conversation about that, and what we found is that a lot of people were operating in silos and that there were some gaps in services. And so under Northern Berkshire United Way, I said, I'll convene this conversation, I'll convene these services. And what came from that was that we identified a few things that we really needed to do in our community. First and foremost, people really needed to know where to go when they identified somebody that was homeless. And we do have a homeless shelter in Northern Berkshire, but the whole community didn't necessarily know where to go when they identified somebody that was homeless, such as, a business or a storefront owner. So we developed a resource card that went out to businesses, first responders, and all the community organizations. Another thing we did is by working with Berkshire Housing is to bring some staff services to Northern Berkshire, because we know there's transportation barriers and it's difficult for people in Northern Berkshire, especially individuals having a tough time without transportation, vehicles to get down to Pittsfield to fill out forms that they need to apply for certain services.
Right, it's something that people around here generally don't think about often. So it's great to have something like that and have a program set up for people who are in need of things like that.
So those were some of the first things that we did. We also talk about a lot of the issues that are faced amongst organizations. So you might have a family served by 6 organizations and maybe 2 of them knew it, but the other 4 didn't. So we figured out a way to share communication without really breaching confidentiality issues. And we brought in a lot of key players like Mass College of Liberal Arts, the North Adams Public Schools, because they're all serving these individuals with homelessness issues. I mean, you might not necessarily think of MCLA as having a homeless population, but they certainly are. And then they're going over to an agency such as the Berkshire Food Project, which is a daily meal site, and students are having, a meal there because they can't afford food. So we were able to really delve into a lot of the community issues and bring in a lot of partners to try to tackle some of those issues on a small scale.
And it's helpful to kind of have that common ground, that common thread that we were talking about before, where we're taking all of these different organizations, and bringing them to one kind of center point, which is awesome. Probably super helpful for the families as well, too.
Well, definitely. And you can see how things are interconnected as well. Not just one organization working on one problem. We have a lot of different organizations working on multifaceted, very complex issues. So, and not one agency or person can do these things alone. So, as a focal point, we want to really, get that information out there that we're here to kind of help you as Northern Berkshire United Way.
And, you guys are a lot more hands-on than people would assume, right?
Yes.
It's not all about just the fundraising or helping these organizations get to these people. So you guys are very hands-on with what you're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely our nature. By trade, I'm a licensed social worker. I did that for many years. I was a, community-based social worker right here in Pittsfield at the Gladys Allen Brigham Community Center for 13 years, and I ran the Kids Place for 5. So we just don't raise money and go talk to workplaces about why you should contribute to Northern Berkshire United Way. We really, really want to develop initiatives, work with our agencies, and see where we can help solve some problems. And you'll find us at different agencies on any given day, too, trying to help out with different things and see where some of their organizations
like somebody's always present.
Yeah, I mean, it's just how we are, how we operate. Volunteering, service is a big part of our organization. Plus, there's only 2 of us. It's myself and another woman.
Well, anybody out there who would like to come and volunteer and join.
That's right. So we have a very active board and volunteers as well that are just amazing and help us get the work done that we need to do.
Now, you did mention that you have a place where people can go if they need as a resource.
Yes.
So for maybe if somebody needed to know how to get in contact with you or where to go exactly, or if you have a website. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So we are located in North Adams at the Holiday Inn. It's a small office suite on the side of the building. It's not located right in the Holiday Inn itself. So we're very centrally located in downtown North Adams. And as everyone knows, there's a lot going on in North Adams these days.
Oh, yeah,
it's
definitely.
really great.
Drawing in big crowds for sure.
I know. It's really changed over the past few years. And we also do have a website. So that's nbunitedway.org. And we do have a Facebook page like everybody else does these days. And what else do we have? Phone number.
Yeah,
you can always call us the old-fashioned way. Like you can call us up if you want to. Less and less people do that these days. They like to find their information online.
Everything's so mobile nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. But that's 413-663-9062, one of the few phone numbers I actually know these days. Another resource that all the United Ways in the state actually participate in, and actually it's a nationwide, is 211. I think a lot of people have heard of 211. It's a resource. So if you think of 411, where you were going to call for information, 211 is for Health and Human Services. So if you have a question or concern about, all right, so I need information on childcare or, a day program for my aging parent or
just
anything
to be able to
like
call
that.
somebody and have all that kind of information rather than searching online yourself for hours.
Exactly. I mean, you can go online to Mass 211 or you can even, just call up that number. I mean, even this weekend with the extreme heat, people were calling that up about for cooling shelters, and you can just call that up about any question that's related to health and human services.
So amongst these different organizations that you were talking about, where United Way is kind of the middle ground here, you kind of have this motto or this kind of mantra of mile wide, inch deep. I have written here. Do you want to just expand on that and what that means to you over at Northern Berkshire United Way and kind of how you incorporate that into the work that you do?
Sure. United Way nationally and for us locally, we support education, health, financial stability, and safety net programs. So that's a wide breadth, and all the 20 member agencies certainly fall under that. And that's a lot of range in programs. So not just the 20 member agencies, but also the community partners that we work with locally and countywide as well. Definitely fall under that. And I don't think everybody knows the full range of what we do and what we accomplish. And so I'm really thankful we can come on today and talk a little bit about it.
I'm so glad that you came in and hopefully informed the people out there that are watching. And if they need to get in contact with you over any of these things, then definitely go to their website, call. Sure. So thank you again, Christa, for coming in, and we'll take you back to the news.
The legislature passed a state budget that has a number of dollars earmarked for projects in Berkshire County. One of the most notable projects is $270,000 for the Berkshire Flyer. The Flyer will be piloted next summer and will bring people on passenger rail from New York City to the Berkshires on Friday afternoon and back home to the city on Sunday. It is hoped to bolster the region's tourism economy. The other local earmarks can be found on iBerkshiresTV. The governor has 10 days to sign the spending plan.
The La Festa Baseball Exchange celebrated its 29th year. The program connects the two ends of the state through baseball games between the North Adams La Festas and the North End Dodgers, first in North Adams and August in Boston.
Pittsfield police were busy in the wee hours of July 22nd as officers responded to an armed robbery and arson incident and a shooting within a span of 2 hours. Police are still investigating the robbery of the All-Town gas station, the arson attempt on Wendell Avenue, and the shots fired on Dewey Avenue.
We now welcome Keith Girouard, whose organization offers a number of tools for small businesses that many people may not know about.
Today we have the great pleasure of being joined by Keith Girouard. Now, Keith, I wrote this down. It's a long title, but we can shorten it as we go on. From the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center Network.
Yes.
Now, you guys work very closely with UMass Amherst and the Eisenberg School of Management. Tell us a little about it.
Actually, we're a program out of the Eisenberg School of Management, UMass Amherst. It's a collaboration with the university, plus the U.S. Small Business Administration, as well as the state of Massachusetts through its Office of Business Development. So it's that sort of combination of resources that are all coming together to serve small businesses.
And you've been doing this for how many years?
I've been working with small businesses for about 20 years, and I've probably worked with about 1,200 businesses at this point. But in this position here, working here since 2007.
On a, let's say, a weekly basis, you come into the office, voicemail, email. How would you split up existing businesses, maybe that some of those problems might be from, or new businesses? What would you say the percentage would be?
Well, our center, which is located right here in Pittsfield, in the glorious city of Pittsfield, not too far from here, actually, we work with about 250 to 300 businesses a year. About 50% of those are startups, and the other 50% existing businesses.
50% startups. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, well, we work with anyone who has an idea for a business and want to flesh that out. I think the largest business we worked with is 11.2 million a year.
So someone can come to you with the framework of an idea. Now, this might flow into the entry to entrepreneurship. Does this have anything? Somebody comes with you to the framework of an idea, and you can really usher them through that.
Yes. Yeah, and there's it's very different working with someone with a startup, and particularly if they have what's called an IDE, possibility, which is a innovation-driven enterprise idea, is very different than someone who has what's called an SME, which is a small to medium business enterprise. So we have a number of techniques and approaches. Many of those are self-discovery approaches that were gleaned over many years of experience and through university research and understanding of how to work with somebody. Yes, so we will work with somebody who has an idea for a business and help them move through the stages. It is about the mechanics, but it's not just about the mechanics.
If you have three principles or three main projects, let's say, that you like to work on. The first one, business advising, export assistance. Why don't you talk to us a little about those three?
Sure. People who know us probably know us mostly for our business advising and some of the things that we just talked about. But in addition to that, we have two specialty centers that are under our umbrella of services. One is called PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. They help Massachusetts companies and Berkshire County companies get access to government contracts at the state, federal, and local level. Help Massachusetts companies probably do about $130 to $150 million of business with the government. We also have a specialty center called Mass Export. It's rated one of the top export centers in the country. They have relationships with about 50 countries and help probably Massachusetts companies do about 150 to 190 million.
I want to go over something you first said. We all know that the government is the biggest employer in any country, whether it's the United States or anyone else. There's a lot of government contracts out there that sometimes are hard to get a hold of. That maze that you have to go through can be really difficult.
Yes, absolutely. And
that's a huge thing that you do, to take a company and say, you do X. I know 3 contracts right now that are open for what you do.
Yeah, it's a complicated maze. The good news is that the federal government as well as state government does a lot of work and has a lot of contracts that it offers to small businesses. The issue is it's hard to navigate that maze, all right? They're coming from a lot of different agencies. They have different requirements.
There's a lot of pre-qualification involved. There's a lot of qualifications. Tough to navigate.
It's actually just hard to navigate to find these things. So we have specialists that work with people on that, and we have access to proprietary databases and search engines. So it helps the people search through all that maze of different agencies and so forth.
And also the exporting part of it. I have a good friend of mine who has works for a business, not his business. Now, it's not in Berkshire County, unfortunately, but it's a small little specialty company. They do a ton of work overseas that they didn't really plan on doing when the company came to fruition.
Right.
There's a lot of specialty stuff that I think even the owners of their own businesses might not think, geez, there's some overseas business we can do and exporting and stuff like that, and you help them along that avenue as well.
Yeah, the specialists that we have under our umbrella services would do that. What we do is we help prepare for that, for example, and we help because that's an international market. All right, but you also often have like domestic market, and you need to have the business infrastructure in place to be able to access both that and to manage that. So that's one of the things that we would do here locally is help, if it was a local business, help them prepare for that and help them make sure that they have a good, strong business infrastructure to support.
How much does the geography of Berkshire County, we all know it's
Yes.
it's this big, long, thin, every agency I know in Berkshire County, it's a problem. Do we focus North Adams, down south, center? Do we just stay here in Pittsfield? You're traveling all over, I would imagine.
Yes, and people also like to come to us as well, which is really good from a lot of different ways. But we're one of 5 regional centers in the state, and we're part of a network of nearly 1,000 across the U.S. and its territories. But just speaking about Berkshire County, we have our offices in Pittsfield, but we have outreach satellite offices in North Adams and in Great Barrington. Our mandate is to be less than a half-hour drive from any business in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
That seems to be becoming more and more familiar with a lot of these agencies. Just getting a little tiny office in North Adams and one in Great Barrington, and sort of being based here in Pittsfield.
Yes.
Because people do like to come here, quite frankly. Wonderful food, which is what I'm always concerned about.
That's the important stuff.
That is the important stuff. It's absolutely.
Let's get to the food.
And talk to me about your work with the Shoemaker Center for Economics.
Yes. Well, you mentioned entry to entrepreneurship, which is a program. It's sort of our flagship. It's part of our commitment to youth entrepreneurship. We've been working with youth for probably, 10 years or more, both at the high school level and the college level. This is an entry-level program for people interested, youth, but also just young adults interested in entrepreneurship. It's a 10-module program that we did. This is the 5th year we're doing it with the Shoemaker Center for New Economics in collaboration with Berkshire Community College. And that's going to actually be kicked off in the fall. The 5th-year one, yes.
I know the changing demographics of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship was probably an older. You saw maybe men and women who were a little advanced in life, who had a career and learned a skill, and then now you're seeing kids coming right out of college.
Yes.
And they're eager to go. They might not be ready to go.
Yes.
They're eager to go.
Yes.
And you, I can't imagine how many kids you're helping nowadays in this. I call them kids 22, 23 years old. Our own Mark Helshea, of course, probably looking to do something soon.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The economy has shifted and changed, and it's less about supply and demand and more about creating opportunity. So innovation plays a really important role, and innovation is something that's very exciting to young people, and it does create a pathway for them to be able to make a living and to do well and certainly contribute to an economy.
What's the easiest way? I wake up one morning, I want to start a business. I have an incredible idea. I know it's going to be a huge hit.
Yes.
What's the easiest way to get in touch with you? What's the best way to start?
You can certainly call our office, and it's 499-0933, and I'll say that again. Area code 413, obviously, 499-0933. You can Google us. Massachusetts Small Business Development Center, or you can visit us at 33 Dunham Mall here in the glorious city of Pittsfield.
That's incredible. I was commenting to you off camera a little bit. I did one term as a selectman in Adams.
Yes.
And I'm pretty active around the community, and I had never heard of your organization.
Yes.
So I think this is really important for all you small business people out there who are in business, have an idea. I know we do some stories on the news where we're talking about small businesses a lot. This is a huge resource that you can use. So please look them up. It's a no-lose situation. Maybe they can help. Maybe they can't. But there's absolutely no cost in getting in touch with Keith or any of his people. And
even beyond that, we just have a short form. Once you fill out that short form, you're guaranteed that our services are free and they're confidential. So that's a pretty good price nowadays, So to your point, there's nothing really to lose to come in and talk to us about it.
Keith, this has been great. I can't thank you enough for joining us. I'm sure down the road we'll probably have you on again in the future.
Yes.
Please get in touch with Keith if you have a small business. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm Jeff Sununian. This has been iBerkshiresTV, and now back to the news.
The former Rascals Lounge in Adams could become a cigar lounge. John Sharon brought his plans to the Board of Health to turn the former bar into a destination for cigar enthusiasts. Sharon said while there are plenty of local places to buy cigars, there are no meeting places where cigar smokers can join together and share their common hobby. The building will need a number of modifications, and Sharon has just begun the process.
The efforts to restore the Clinton AME Zion Church in Great Barrington received a boost from the National Trust for Historic Preservation's African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund to the tune of $75,000. The historic church is eyed to be repurposed into a performance space, fellowship hall, and visitor center with a focus on African American history and the legacy of civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois.
The Pittsfield Rotary Club presented a check to the city for $155,000. The money is going toward the creation of a boundless playground, which is designed to accommodate children with disabilities, and a splash pad at Clapp Park. The construction has already begun and is hoped to be open later this summer.
The nomination period for Pittsfield's election closed. There will be at least 3 preliminary elections, one for mayor and one each for wards 5 and 6. There could be potentially a third for at-large, as one candidate is qualified to run for both a ward seat and an at-large seat. A preliminary for at-large would be needed if he opts to run for that seat. The mayoral field will be Linda Tyre, Scott Graves, Karen Kalinowski, and Melissa Mazzio. We'd like to thank our guests on today's show, Christa Collier and Keith Girouard, and also our sponsor, Berkshire Jobs.
Please join us again next time for your local news on iBerkshiresTV.